Let's tank Tichondrius in the nighthold on Mythic difficulty. Now, Tichondrius is pretty much the same on Mythic as he is in Heroic. He has all the same abilities, however these abilities have been slightly altered. The main one you'll notice that has been altered is how Carrion Plague and Seeker Swarm work together. Anyone affected by the Carrion Plague will now take 1000% increased damage from the Seeker Swarm ability, and the Seeker Swarm ability will now only target people with Carrion Plague. This pretty much means that anyone hit who has Carrion Plague by the Seeker Swarm is going to die instantly. So the way you combat that is to have a set rotation of soakers. The way our guild did it was to have anyone affected with Carrion Plague stand between the boss and the X marker, which was located on the other side of the room. And then we had a set rotation of soakers who would soak and stand in front of the boss and in front of the Carrion Plagues to make sure that they don't get hit with Seeker Swarm. Now, our set rotation was we'd have one tank take the first and third soak, and then we'd have two rogues, one would take the second soak and the other would take the fourth soak using Cloak of Shadows. This negated the whole mechanic and pretty much made it really easy to handle. Now, things to note about this is anyone who's currently doing the soak for the Seeker Swarm, so say it's your tank or be it your rogues, that these players are going to be hit with a number of stacks of Carrion Plague, because obviously they're soaking for multiple people. They're going to get hit with multiple stacks of Carrion Plague, so they'll survive the initial big hit of the Seeker Swarm, but then they're going to have a dot on them which ticks really hard, and pretty much you need your healers to be focused healing these players. This can get tricky when handling other abilities such as the Brand of Argus, which if you have 5 players go into one of them, they blow up and do a load of raid damage. Now, to counteract this, our guild decided not to blow them up, and all you do to stop that happening is make sure at any one time that there's no more than 4 players in them. If a 5th player goes into one of them, they're going to blow up and leave a big fire patch on the ground, and this can really affect the Carrion Plague's healing, especially if you have weaker healers on these targets, which could result in them dying. So we just decided not to blow them up, and just to make sure that everyone is aware that try not to go in the brands at all throughout the fight. Now, this gets a bit tricky during the bat phase, where players are all trying to get the orbs so they don't die, and it's just a bit of a clusterfuck in general. So the way we handled the bat phase now is that we had a set point, because I was on my Brewmaster for this. I just dropped my Black Ox statue, I made a macro, and then just taunt spammed off the Black Ox just to bring all the bats to it as quick as possible. Then we just AoE bomb them down as many as we could, and the better DPS classes for this who could cleave, like Fire Mages, our Feral Druid was really high for example, would make sure that these players would get the orbs first, obviously to increase the damage done to the bats and to help you get as many down as possible. You want to be getting in roughly between 20 to 30 bats dead in this phase each time, consistently, just so your players can get a feel of when they should be going into grab orbs and when they shouldn't, and you don't really want them panicking near the end to make them feel that they have to get these orbs. So the final thing we need to look at on this fight on Mythic is the different kinds of adds that come. The adds are pretty much the same and do the same, they just have increased damage and they need to be killed off as quick as possible. Now for the bloods, how we did it is we had one tank take all the bloods, and then the other tank would take the Seeker Swarms. And for the bloods, what we did was we had 2 sets on myself as the Brewmaster Monk, and I just cool down through it. And when the pillars would spawn, I'd just kite them behind a pillar and they'd get killed off really quickly. You just need to be aware of the Feast of Blood debuff when this happens, because obviously taking 2 stacks of this means you're going to be taking 100% increased physical damage, and you've got 6 bloods hitting you. So just make sure you're rotating cooldowns on yourself just to survive long enough for them to get killed off and then go back in. The Feast of Blood debuff, if you're doing it this way, does fall off before the 3rd set of adds spawns. So you're fine to do this throughout phase 1. Now after the first bat phase, you're going to get the second type of ad spawning, which is the Fellsworn Spellguard, and all you need to know with this is you're only going to be taking 1 set of bloods. The first set of bloods will spawn, you're going to wait around a few seconds, and then 2 of these Fellsworn Spellguards will spawn from the back left and back right of the room. Just make sure you pick them up, take them to the X marker and kill them down. These adds will put a volatile wound on you, which just leaves a puddle, and increase all damage you take by 5% for 8 seconds, and this affects stacks, so they just need killing off pretty much as quick as possible with the bloods or you're going to get trucked. And then we just rotated, so I'd take the first set of bloods, and this set of adds, the tank would then take a set of bloods, kill them off, and then you take a set of bloods and the adds, kill them off, and then the other tank would take the last set of bloods. Just when you're tanking these adds, just remember when your volatile wound does expire, you're going to drop a Never Zone, and anyone within it's going to take 743 Ks worth of damage, so just try to drop them off at the side of the rooms, guys. Sometimes you might be panicking a little bit, just try not to. Watch your debuffs, drop it somewhere safe, and carry on with the fight. Apart from that, nothing really changes in Phase 2. So now let's have a look at the Phase 3 ad. The Phase 3 ad comes out at the same time as the Fellsworn Spell Guards, and it's called the Sightless Watcher. Now this guy comes out the back middle from like that balcony area, and he has two abilities. The first is Burning Soul, which burns a random healer's soul, inflicting 500,000 fire damage every second for 30 seconds. In addition, this effect drains 77,000 mana every second, and when this effect is removed, it explodes, inflicting 1.1 million fire damage to allies within 8 yards. The other ability this ad has is called Ring of Shadows, and what it's going to do is encircles the ad in a ring of souls that inflicts 169,000 shadow damage to all players within 10 to 20 yards every half a second. So basically, the goal of this last phase is you want to kill one of these ads off and then burn the boss as hard as possible. So that's why you want to be saving Bloodlust for this phase. Apart from that, you just want to kill off the first set of bloods and the first set of ads, and then tank all the other ads away while the burn is happening on the boss. And hopefully that gets you the kill. Now, other things you might want to know about this fight are how the pillars spawn during Tichondrius' Echo of the Void ability. Now, 4 pillars are going to spawn. One spawns at the front right, one spawns at the front left, one at the back right, and one at the back left. Now, you want to separate your raid into 4 groups and have 5 behind each pillar. Now, if you like us in a melee stack, you want to try to put the good like AoE melee behind the pillar where the bloods are going to be tanked, 2 range groups at the sides, and then some melee where Tichondrius is stacked just so they can keep DPSing in during this phase. For boss positioning, we decided to tank Tichondrius in the back left of the room. This was just to make it a little bit easier just to pick up the 2 Fellsworn Spell Guard ads for me as a tank. Just made it a little bit easier, and it also made it a lot easier for the other tank to pick up the Sightless Watcher in the last phase just to kind of get a bit of cleave damage on the boss while the raid was focusing it down. And that's pretty much all the tips I can give you for this fight, guys. I hope this guide helps you. It's a bit rushed, it's not my best one, but I tried to get it out a bit quicker since I haven't been putting out too many videos the past few weeks. So anyway, please like, comment and subscribe for more videos.